Okay, so at Let's Golf today we're doing some iron testing. I'm very privileged to have Matthew James from Callaway Golf, who's one of their custom fit technicians, and also does a lot of product training for the high street stores and a lot of the green grass sites that sell Callaway equipment. So we've got the X Forged iron 2018, Project X Shaft 6.0, which we're going to be testing and comparing against our gamer, the Apex CF16 iron. Okay. Tell us a little bit more about this one, Matt.
Okay.
What's the difference?
So this essentially is a new line. It's been there before, but a new line for us for the coming year, as we've alluded to. Best way to think about it really is it's a single piece forged head.
Okay.
So it's going to have that visible appearances of the clubs that we're used to using, and that slight cavity back style. But again, you know, everything about this golf club, kind of like the MB that I have in my hand, is tour player inspired. So some of the feedback that the guys gave us from tour is that, you know, the cup face technology that you and I are used to in our current irons maybe isn't the best thing for players with some higher ball speeds. Find it a little bit hard to control, particularly from different lies, you know, maybe a little bit wet, maybe a little bit in the rough. So it's looking at trying to control some of those other parameters and not necessarily distance.
Okay. So where does this sit in your range? Because we've tested the Apex Muscleback club. Where does this sit in the range compared, you know, we've got the CF16, Apex Pro, Apex Muscleback. Where does this sit?
So this for me sits right beneath Apex CF16.
Okay.
So it's not quite an Apex Pro.
Okay.
So it's a little bit more help than an Apex Pro would be.
Yeah.
Slightly bigger cavity, slightly deeper CG.
Yeah.
So essentially it's like your Apex iron that you and I are familiar to using, but without the cup face technology.
Okay, so we remove the cup face technology. What are we likely to see with this iron then?
So for me, I think, you know, the first thing that we'll notice is actually a little bit of loss of ball speed.
Okay.
So probably not going to go as far.
Okay.
Probably for that, maybe a little bit more control.
Okay. So, you know, we've had this discussion before with cut face for me in particular, not always, and this is me looking at the sort of recreational, you know, golfer, pro golfer that's playing recreational golf now in a few tournaments here and there, but nothing like the guys on TV. But I have the occasional kind of flyer, and I explained that to you, and with the CF16 clubs. So this is going to, for me, we'll probably see a little bit more control and less of that kind of ping off the face, that
I think,
flying
you know,
ball.
some of the feedback that we've had about the cup face, particularly, you know, like we've said to the guys on tour, is that it can be a little bit unexpected sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, you do get that odd flyer where the ball comes off a little bit quicker. There's a slight reduction in the spin rate anyway from the lower CGs and the deeper CGs. That coupled with another reduction in spin, and maybe an increase in ball speed. In distance worlds, it's a good combination.
Yeah.
But in terms of accuracy out on the golf course, it's not always the best solution.
Yeah, so I was a little bit sort of starstruck with what the CF16 did for me in testing.
Yeah.
You know, so going for saying, oh, that's given me a little bit more ball speed, a little bit more distance, got it out on the golf course, got one in the rough, ping, there's an extra 15%, bye-bye ball, it's over the back of the green, out of bounds. In somebody's garden, they've got a new chrome soft ball sitting in their garden. So, so for me, I'm quite looking forward to testing this because I've been seeking that iron which gives me a little bit more control over the ball speed without losing too much distance. I don't want to give up what I've kind of gained and got used to too much of one for the other.
You know, I think, you know, another key point as well, and something that maybe gets lost in these kind of things, and particularly in indoor fittings that I've been to, is how the golf club looks and how it feels. You know, if you're used to a kind of design of an Apex where you have got that slightly larger top line, slightly thicker cavity, it's going to look very similar to that Apex iron that you're used to. It's going to perform slightly differently.
Okay, so what golfer is this going to really suit? Would you see this doing fittings next year, and I'll be doing fittings with this club? Well, who is this going to be pitched at? Are we going to put this in the hands of?
I think you know, sort of club golfer that's pretty quick.
Yeah.
You know, got plenty of speed, who's maybe not interested in some distance.
Yeah.
Certainly that guy that's maybe looking for a little bit of help if they're not quite on it all the time. There's going to be a lot of tour use for this. You know, when the X-Forge was a popular model back in 2013. The likes of Phil Mickelson was renowned for using it, so it's going to be a very popular model out on tour.
Okay, and shaft offerings, you're pretty much offering everything that you've got
absolutely,
in this as well.
Yeah, fitting heads are going to be available at this at standard, 2 up, 2 down, as we're used to with Callaway, and any of the shaft combinations that we can put in a normal iron.
Okay, and available now?
Yep.
So, and going out throughout next year, so this will sit in your family of golf clubs quite nicely, as you see.
Absolutely, yeah.
Excellent. So we hit some shots with it?
Let's.
Okay then, Matt, so we've hit a few shots. We've got the 6.
Yep.
We actually hit sort of 7 or 8. We removed the worst ones, the sort of the shots that would distort the numbers too much, and we've done it with our gamers.
Absolutely,
my gamer CF16 with the steel fibre, yours with the Modus 105.
Yep.
So talk us through the numbers. You're the fitter, you're the expert. Let's talk about what has this done for our game and us hitting shots. What will this help us with?
So again, as we've already alluded to in other videos in the past, we always look at the first 3 columns here that come up on the GC2 as the pillars. So what I mean by that is if you affect any one of these numbers, you're going to affect the distances, you're going to affect these downrange numbers, which are the ones that your golfer is going to be more interested in, right? So as we see with my 120 ball speed, 19.5 launch, and just shy of 6,000 spin, I'm getting 170 average carry out of that. So if we change any of those numbers, i.e. for me, for example, there, a ball speed 1 straight away, if we change that number alone, I'd expect there to be a difference in the distance down range. For me, we're not just changing that, we're changing the launch slightly. It's slightly stronger launch, which I'll be honest, I'm actually a little bit surprised at, being that's it's actually a slightly weaker loft, that iron, but launching a little bit stronger for me, but the spin rate's changed quite significantly. So a loss of ball speed, a gain in spin is then a loss in distance.
So again, we talk about the CG location of the clubs, the difference between ours being more of a cavity back CG with the cut face, the one offsetting the other, stronger lofts. And then they're kind of getting the spin combination to fit in nicely, where this one we're really seeing an effect of drop of ball speed, lower launch, higher spin, so it's climbing and soaring, but hurt you considerably with 8 yards of carry distance, which is almost a club for you into the greens.
And the important thing there is, that's not to say that that's a bad thing, right? It's just you've got to know all of these numbers well enough, and that's why it's so crucial to come and be fitted, that you've got to know that there's going to be causes and effects. I think it's a game of physics, essentially, and in a physics world, if you give someone something, you've got to take something away to do that. And that's a classic example there for me. And it's funny how, it's then evident with yourself as well. So there's a little bit of a loss in ball speed when we compare the two. Launch is similar. And I would say, to be fair, the differences between mine are similar as well, although the numbers are different, but they are similar. Slight increase in the spin rate for you. So that loss in ball speed, gain in spin, we actually see then a loss in distance as well. So
bit of a drop for me in the distance there of 7 yards, so not quite a club, just under it, half a club, 3/4 of a club. But then back to, is this going to give me the discussion we had with the intro of this iron? Is this club going to give me the control that I'm seeking to remove, the flyer when there's when there's less friction on the club face, and that one that just fizzes off the face?
There's a few things that at play when those kinds of things happen. Certainly the loss of spin is the main thing. That can sometimes lead to a gain in speed. So if we can drop that speed out, it's going to be one of those elements that's going to pull your distance back. And actually, for your sake, that's kind of what we're looking at, really. You want to move away from that shot that goes soaring over the back of the green. Well, one of the ways to do that is to change that ball speed number. So if we can have that influence, there's a fair chance that we'll have that influence on the flight out there for you on the golf course.
So those two are going to give me, ultimately, if we can up we've upped those two enough to actually say, okay, when we get into those extreme conditions on the golf course, which I don't hope to be in.
No, sure.
Unfortunately, I do. I am human. That I'm not going to just keep putting chrome softs in people's gardens.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So, you know, in your opinion then, for you with your game, what would this do? Would you be looking at playing this if you was fitting somebody, or was it hurt you too much?
I think for me it's going to hurt. You know, it's certainly along the lines of clubs that I've used in the past, but the Apex iron for me has just been such a renowned iron. It's done so well at retail, it's done so well across the globe, and you know, the reasons are there. Personally, I think where I don't see that kind of shot that you're describing comes from my launch.
Yeah.
You know, I launch the ball quite high anyway, and for most people, they'd probably describe that as quite a low spin.
Yeah.
But I'd say I'm used to it. You know, I'm just familiar with it. I'm understanding it all the time. I don't think I've ever really seen that sort of flyer scenario that we talk about. So, would I try and game a club that's maybe going to help me in that scenario? Probably not.
Yeah. I think for me it would be, you know, I would be considering this as the go-to club for me, and possibly even going on that shaft, as I'd gone away from that shaft and as I said to you, gone something lighter.
Yeah.
Actually going heavier, felt that I could sort of drop the club a little bit into the position I felt more confident with on the way down. It was by far the tightest dispersion circle, and you commented on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you know, one of the key points there in all of these numbers is some of the smaller numbers that maybe the viewers wouldn't be used to seeing. And we look at these standard deviations, that's the change between the highest and the weakest, and how much it's moving essentially. And you'll see there between your sets of data, it's not moving as much.
Yeah.
So that straight away, if I was going to guess, it's going to have a change down here. Yeah, again, same story, it's a pillar, it's going to affect something down here. All of those shots that you hit were within 1 yard of those numbers.
Yeah,
which
deviation.
Then is very important when you get out onto the golf course.
It's incredibly tight, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And you know, just so we can include this on this as well. I mean, a little bit off track, but let's talk about, you know, the difference in weight of shaft. You know, a significantly heavier shaft.
Yep, absolutely.
How for certain people,
yep,
a heavier shaft is going to help them, give them a better awareness of this club moving around their body, right?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, we spoke about it off camera. You know, I'm using a Modus 105, so it's a 105 gram shaft. I've used the Project X in the past, and we laughed and joked in testing and hitting some of these shots that actually I felt like it was a bit of a struggle now.
Yeah.
You know, it's certainly a lot stiffer shaft in terms of its feel. And, you know, that maybe that's affecting something like the launch itself.
Yeah.
But that's just evident to me that, you know, it's so important to be fitted for your golf clubs.
Yeah.
Because we've got so many different shaft options for the players out there. You know, getting it feeling right, particularly for the kind of player that's going to want to look at this kind of club, is crucial.
Yeah. And that kind of, I pick it up and I think, oh, I don't like the feel of this because it's going back to being heavier in the middle.
Yeah.
And I'd gone away from that with the steel fibre. Now actually thinking, right, actually hitting shots thinking, wow, in space, moving it around me on the circle,
yeah,
I actually feel that I'm getting the club better in the slot.
Yeah.
So I actually started to warm towards it by the end of it,
yeah,
especially when I started to see straighter shots.
The ball flights were just so similar as well, weren't they? That's the thing. It's having that consistency, and that's, you know, where we're sort of selling this golf club. It's not necessarily going to be all about distance.
Yeah. Very good. So tour influence with its design.
Absolutely.
Headed pitching at the better player, somebody who moves it faster at the golf club,
yep,
or you know an aspiring player, possibly elite players as well that are looking at getting a little bit more control.
Yep.
Not too bothered about giving up a little bit of distance to
yep,
gain some more control back on their golf ball.
Absolutely.
Okay, so the X Forged iron for 2018.
Yep.
Thank you, Matt. Enjoyed testing that today.
See that going in your bag.
Absolutely.